Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is an IFBB Classic Physique Pro. Today's guest is Tyler Johnson. Tyler, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, for sure, my man. So I'm excited to learn more about you, Tyler. I know you're just fresh off of competing at the 2022 Classic Physique Olympia. So we're going to get into all of that talk. But before we do, I want to ask you, who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
So I would say I have about 3 or 4. In terms of physique, I would say Lee Labrada. I feel like he sort of is similar-ish to me. Like we have a similar build. And I've just always appreciated his posing, but also the way he presents himself and his conditioning, mainly his conditioning and his balance of conditioning and fullness and everything. Most recently, Derek Lunsford. He's someone that I can resonate with a lot. The way he speaks and talks about, God and consciousness and presence. And, there's a lot of what he is sort of sharing that I can relate to a lot. The other two, Jay Cutler, obviously he's one of the greatest of all time. The way he presents himself as a professional, the way he's transcended bodybuilding, just like Chris Bumstead. Like they're above bodybuilding. At the end of the day, they don't need bodybuilding, and the way they've been able to carry themselves as professionals, it's admirable, honestly. And then lastly, not so much for his bodybuilding career as much as I respect it, but Fouad Abiad, just the way he's been able to also transcend bodybuilding, but also show everyone, that you can stay in the industry and be successful outside of competing. The way he's been able to grow the sport, most importantly, more in a mainstream, fashion versus just maintaining the sort of niche and let's stick to what we know and let's stick to the demographic that we know and whatever. It's not just about bodybuilding. It's the way he's been able to integrate, normal people into bodybuilding and teach them about bodybuilding in a way that they can understand it and apply it into their own lives. So I'd say those 4 just at the top of my head.
Love that. Now, I want to ask you something. You kind of said something about specifically Jay Cutler and C-Bum in terms of how they've kind of transcended bodybuilding, where they don't need bodybuilding. And C-Bum obviously is kind of our generation or maybe your generation's example of that. But my generation is most definitely Jay Cutler, right? Like anytime I watch Jay Cutler content, it's like a lot of times I'm thinking, especially like when you see the vehicles that he drives and he doesn't talk about like really anything outside of like, on his, social media, outside of really like the fitness and the bodybuilding and the supplements. But, cause you hear a few things that he'll say, but that he's, been in real estate in the past. He invests in a lot of things outside of fitness and bodybuilding. So I guess what I'm trying to get at, because that really fascinates me as well, how individuals can transcend, maybe the sport or maybe the how they kind of got their start, and they become like something above to where they don't need kind of what got them started any longer. Like,
yeah.
Do you think that's just maybe some sort of luck? Is it something about the individuals? Like, do you have any ideas or thoughts about that? Because I find that fascinating, especially with Jay Cutler and C-Bum, because they have transcended bodybuilding. They don't need bodybuilding and fitness anymore.
I think it's the way they connect to their audience. I think it's the way that they create sort of a demographic outside of just bodybuilders to relate to. I think it's a relatability as well. Like, if you look at Chris, for example, he's just a normal guy sort of thing. He's obviously not normal, but the way that you can relate to him is that he's a normal guy. He's just a guy who went to university, he worked out, he played sports, and he just sort of acts like himself sort of thing. You know what I mean? He doesn't put himself on a pedestal the same way I feel like Jay Cutler maybe as well. They're very humble, and, I feel like they just really do their best at relating to the everyday person. Doesn't matter if you're a bodybuilder, doesn't matter if you're, a mother or father of just someone who doesn't even do anything to do with bodybuilding, but they just like to work out. or they just like the fitness scene, or, you know, it doesn't really, it's just about health and fitness at the end of the day. And I think they've been able to do a really good job at being able to integrate health and fitness, like the health and fitness enthusiasts, into bodybuilding versus just stick to the bodybuilding. There's a lot of bodybuilders, you know, I don't want to say unfortunately, but they just stick to what they know is just eat, sleep, train. I'm a bodybuilder, I get big, and that's it. And, you know, I think it's important if you want to grow the sport outside of the realm of bodybuilding to be able to relate to other people, and being able to integrate the other audience, like people who don't know bodybuilding, integrate them into the health and fitness scene. So then that way we can, you know, ultimately grow the sport and grow, you know, just the industry itself, like health and fitness itself versus just bodybuilding.
Great point. Okay, so at what age did you specifically start lifting weights, Tyler? And then why did you start lifting weights at that age?
I was about 17. I think I was 17 turning 18. There were a lot of reasons, man. I would say a few of the reasons, you know, I was really small. I was like buck 15, buck 20 or something going into grade 12 at 5'9". So I was just basically a wet noodle. And I was getting pushed around at hockey. I was getting pushed around at soccer. I was really insecure, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. And it just got to a point where I was like, you know, something in the back of my head said, like, you got to go work out, dude. Like, you can't be living like this. You know that you're not confident. You know that you don't have a lot of trust in yourself. You know, and it's just time to make a change. And it never started about bodybuilding. It never really started about anything, to be honest. It was more just like therapy of like, you got to go do something, because like you can't just sit at home and dwell in your thoughts all day. And, you know, there's a lot of darkness back there, and it's time to just go do something about it and release something. You know, you can't just hold it, you can't just harvest it. You're getting angry, you know, playing video games a lot, just getting angry, yelling at the TV, and yelling at the guys over the microphone and everything, you know. So I just needed a release. And you know, I can tell you, man, like I went into the gym probably the first day, and something clicked. And I was a very small kid, don't get me wrong. I wasn't looking jacked or anything like that, but it was just like a feeling of like, this is where I belong. Like, I feel really good here. And that was a feeling I never experienced before, to be honest. I never really had that, like, wow, this is where I belong. And I've played hockey, I've played soccer, I've played literally every sport possible growing up. And, you know, I tested to trying new things, and, you know, being open-minded to trying new things, and, you know, the opportunities that come with it, the networking that comes with it, and the growth that comes with it, everything that you learn. Doesn't matter if you suck at the sport or not, you still learn from it, right? So, you know, for me, it was just, I'm going to go work out and, you know, take a couple hours off thinking. And I found a lot of peace in that. And you know, I talk about it a lot now, but I feel like the reason for that was the presence that came with being in the gym. And it didn't really, I don't even think it really had to do with like the gym itself or working out itself. It was like, I mean, of course, the endorphins and the dopamine and serotonin, of course, but it was more like, I'm present here. I'm not in my mind. I'm not thinking. I'm not overthinking. I'm not stressing. I don't have anxiety. I don't have a depression. It's just me and the weights in my body. And, you know, I think that's where I kind of found my love for it.
Excellent, man. Okay, so I want to get a little bit more into your childhood, Tyler, and upbringing at this point. So talk about where you grew up. I'm assuming you grew up in Canada. Is that correct?
Yeah, I grew up in a town or city called St. Catharines. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I had a pretty normal childhood for the most part. You know, I played hockey and soccer my whole life, probably since I was like 2.5. So as soon as I could get on skates, I was on skates. And as soon as I could start kicking a ball, I was kicking a ball. I played both of those for like 25 years, probably, give or take, like, because I played soccer this summer and I played hockey last winter. So it's something I've just been doing my whole life. And then through elementary school, I played every sport that you could do: volleyball, basketball. I did track and field, cross country. I was in the chess club. Like, I don't know, man. I was just someone who just loved to try new things. And when I got to high school, I think I was like soccer, hockey, football, cross country, track and field. I did swimming one year, which I was god awful at. But again, I'm down to try new things. I'm down to fail. I'm down to learn. I learned I was not a very good swimmer. But yeah, and then it just sort of went into bodybuilding from there, I guess.
Okay, now, in terms of how big your community was that you grew up in, was it a bigger city or is it pretty small there in Canada?
It's like a medium, I guess. It's like 100,000 people. So a relatively small community in terms of like pretty much everyone knows everyone, and especially with the fitness community, very, very small.
Okay.
If you're in the fitness community in St. Catharines or even Niagara region, which is where I'm from, so if you're familiar with Niagara Falls, I'm just over the border, like literally just over the border. So, yeah, relatively small community in that regard. I wouldn't say small, like a small town, but relatively small, tight knit community, especially when it comes to fitness.
Okay. Well, I live in a small town. It's less than 5,000 people. So 100,000 is, you're right, probably a little bit like a medium size. So, when I say everybody knows everybody in my town, it's the truth
Literal.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, okay. Now I want to touch on a little bit more because I think this is going to relate to a lot of people. You mentioned, in those younger years, kind of before you found, the gym and weights and all of that, there was this anxiety and depression. Can you just expound a little bit more on that? Like, was there, what was the driving force behind that? Do you feel like now looking back?
I mean, the reality is anxiety, depression, 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, stems from trauma, right? So, I had some trauma as I was growing up, a lot of high stress and a high stress inner environment as well. So I never really had that like safety and security within myself. And I just always projected that and through anger and irritability and sadness, depression, whatever you want to say. So growing up wasn't very easy for me by any means. It was kind of always an uphill battle, literally up until like 2 years ago. So it was just something that I would, with the gym itself, I would just crave that sort of presence. I would crave that, like, where can I go to get out of my head? Where can I go to deal with what I'm dealing with? And unfortunately, like the reality was I was kind of like distracting myself and running away from what I needed to deal with. But I did find that was literally the only peace that I found in my life. It was the only sort of like safe haven that I had. So yeah, it's just something that over time you start to gain awareness to, thank God. And then you're able to actually kind of integrate the two and find your presence somewhere else, find your peace somewhere else outside of the gym. So that way the gym isn't necessarily like a distraction. It's not like I need to go here because I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling angry. Like, because then it kind of becomes like a negative connotation. As much as it's a safety net, it's like somewhere that you're going because you're feeling negative. Whereas, now in my life, because I've been able to heal from the trauma, and by no means am I saying like I'm healed, but it's a process of healing and a process of awareness of why I have the trauma and exactly how I project it and exactly who it has made me into. And now I'm able to look at the gym and look at my nutrition, and because that was one thing I struggled with too, is nutrition. I would just eat a lot of not healthy foods and a lot of fast food, a lot of junk food, a lot of processed food, because unknowingly that was a coping mechanism for the anxiety, right? So thankfully I've been able to learn about it and become more aware, and then I'm able to now look at my bodybuilding career as more of like, it brings me peace more than anything, and it's not something that I need to distract myself with. It's something that I'm aligning myself with more so than anything. So I'm able to eat the way I need to eat and train the way I need to train, and it's focused now, instead of like, oh, I'm really depressed, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to feel better. It's like I'm just so incredibly focused because I'm so unrestricted now. I no longer have the restriction of flow and restriction of like stress coming in and anxiety, and my head was all fogged up all the time. My brain wasn't working the way it was supposed to work. And now I just feel like there's a lot more clarity. And being able to have that clarity, I'm able to just like absorb everything that I'm doing, and it enhances everything within the process. And now I love the process more than anything. I'm much more detached from the result. Whereas I used to be all about the result. Like if I didn't win, I was a loser. If I didn't win, then people were going to think I'm a loser, or I'm embarrassed because what are people going to think if I lose? And I don't even think about that anymore. Like I don't have any of those thoughts even conceptualized at all, because I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Like, I love the process. I love waking up every morning, going to the gym, getting my cardio done, coming home, doing my morning routine, getting my first meal in. And it's just like a flow for the rest of the day of just getting my meals in, getting my training in, and making sure I'm using the night to recharge and unwind versus what can I do to distract myself? How can I, remove myself from my mind and find some sort of quick dopamine rush for my ego to temporarily satisfy it. Whereas now it's like, I'd rather just be alone, because at least then I can learn about myself if I choose to, or I can just be, I can just be and meditate and unwind and recharge and just release the energy from the day, and then start, tomorrow with some new energy ready to go.
So when did the healing begin for you? When did you come to the realization that you needed to be healed or heal yourself, however you want to word that, in terms of the younger years of trauma?
January 2021. So not that long ago. I had I don't know what you want to call it, a revelation, something clicked. And, I attribute it to the pandemic. If I'm being honest, I do feel like a lot of that happened deliberately. And what I mean by that is just like, there was a purpose for a lot of people to find themselves. The world stopped. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to cry and complain and fight with people, or are you going to stop, take a step back, and learn about yourself? Because this is the only time we're ever going to get, hopefully, that the world stops, that you can't go to work, you can't do anything, you can't see your friends. This is the time to be with yourself and to learn yourself. And so, of course, the first year of it was not as smooth, and, we all handle it probably not our best. But thankfully I learned through that experience, and I was able to gain awareness of like, wow, that was not your best self over that past year. You're getting in arguments with people, and it's like, who gives a shit like about any of this, about anyone's opinion about anything, including my own? Like, who gives a shit about my opinion on whatever's happening? You know what I mean? Because it doesn't change anything at the end of the day. Like, we still have to go on with our day. And now, unfortunately, we're going on with our day angry and filled with all this stress and anxiety over nothing that isn't even real technically, right? So January 2021, there was a lot of stuff that I had to deal with, a lot of bad decisions and a lot of misalignment with myself. And I had to confront myself. It was like, dude, is this the life you want to live? And it wasn't. And I had to make a decision, because, if I'm being honest, like, I didn't have a plan to come into 2022. It was, dude, either you change or something has to happen where, you might not be here in 2022. And that was sort of like the timeline. That was sort of a goal for me. And, goal, but it is what it is. And it was a matter of like, okay, you either change or, so, in that time, and I'm not, religious by any means, but in that time was when I found God, basically. And, I just found that sort of savior, in terms of like, I just need guidance. Like, that was literally all I wanted. I didn't ask for anything. I didn't say, I want to be this, I want to be that. I need this, I need that. I don't need money. I don't need fame. I don't need anything. It was, I just need guidance. I don't have that. I don't have guidance. I don't have anyone who's like telling me that I'm making the wrong decision. I don't have anyone who's pushing me towards the right decision. And I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I think the biggest, like for me, it was like admitting to myself, I don't know what I'm doing. That was like the most liberating feeling in the entire world, because we have an ego that wants to control everything. And our ego wants to say, I know what I'm doing. I'm in control. I've got this. The reality is, I don't got shit. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. No one knows what they're doing. No human being has ever experienced what they've experienced before. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm 29 now, so I'm about to turn 30. I've never been 30 years old before, so I don't know what being a 30-year-old is about. I don't know what I'm supposed to know by 30. I don't know what I'm supposed to have by 30. What's a successful 30-year-old? Like, I don't know. And society may say this and this and this and that, but it's like, they don't even know either. Like, no one knows anything. And that's like the most freeing feeling, to admit to yourself, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but you know what? I'm just going to follow my intuition. I'm going to stop thinking so much, stop overthinking, stop stressing, and just listen to my intuition. My intuition says eat clean. I'm going to eat clean. My ego says go have Wendy's today because it's going to taste good. You're going to have a good workout. You're going to feel full. But my intuition, my gut is saying, eat the clean meal. That's going to help you reach your goals. This is what this is about: reaching your goals, aligning yourself on the path that you're meant to be on. And everyone knows what they're supposed, everyone knows right from wrong. Everyone. We all have that voice in the back of our head that immediately tells us this is the right decision, but our ego often intercepts that, and it says, oh, no, let's find what can bring us the most security and safety, and let's make this easy on us. We don't want to take risks. We don't want to, sometimes it's easier to just go buy fast food than it is to go buy food from the grocery store and then cook it, right? Like with time, it's like, oh, it takes way more time to cook and go buy our groceries, whatever. That's ego. The right decision is to go to the grocery store, get the food and cook it, because after you eat that food, you're going to feel way better. After you eat that fast food, you're going to have a little bit of regret, and then that carries into anxiety, and then you start projecting that. And that, I believe, anxiety comes from like not making the right decision for yourself. The decision that aligns you with your highest self, the decision that that is going to bring you one step forward on that path. As soon as we stop making those decisions, that's when our anxiety starts. And then it's just this endless cycle of like bad decisions, unfortunately, right?
Okay. So the last question pertaining to kind of what we're talking about, and then we'll move on. But I find this very fascinating. I resonate with a lot of what you're saying, especially in regards to ego, Tyler. I think I'm a huge proponent that ego will kill us. It will destroy us. But anyways, so I'm resonating. So I want to know, because I am sure there's other people that are going to listen or watch this episode. And they're gonna be shaking their head up and down in agreement as well. So in terms of like literature or maybe some individuals that kind of spoke into your life during this awakening, I'll call it. What was there any literature? Were there any podcasts? Were there any people, or was this all kind of like internally driven and internally motivated?
I would say a little bit of both. I definitely did my own like research and read and listened to podcasts. So a few books I would recommend: Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, Power of Awakening by Dr. Wayne Dyer, I believe. Think Again, Adam Grant. That's more so like uncovering like our old beliefs and like peeling back the layers of like why you think you even believe into something. I found that really interesting. Mask of Masculinity by Lewis Howes. Very good book. Mainly it's just therapy for men, which I highly, highly recommend. Daily Stoic is a good one. Untethered Soul I'm reading that right now by Michael Singer. That's a really good one. Dr. Nicole LaPera, I believe her name is. She's got a book, How to Do the Work. I'd recommend any podcast that she's on. Lewis Howes, his podcast is very good. Check out any of his guests. Tom Bilyeu, very good as well. I really appreciated his health impact theory, which talks a lot about gut health, which is honestly one thing that changed my entire life as well. Prioritizing my gut health. I have gastroparesis, which is a gut disease. It basically just like blocks my digestion. So the food will like pile up, and then I just feel full and I don't want to eat any ever. So being able to heal my gut literally changed my entire life. And if there's one thing anyone takes from this, you can negate all the God stuff, you can negate all the ego, whatever. Gut health will change your life, I promise you. So anything on gut health, honestly, I would recommend. Any podcast. Andrew Huberman, really good resource as well. Yeah, I don't know. I could probably go on for days, but those are probably the ones that stick out.
Excellent. Okay, now we're gonna get back into kind of more of your younger years and start getting into bodybuilding. We are going to come back to the gut health thing, because that's something I'm very passionate about and have had struggles with myself. So let's take a step back. So we're in high school, 17, 18, you start lifting weights. Now, at that point in your life, Tyler, did you have any thoughts about a career? Did you have any thoughts about what you wanted to do, quote unquote, when you grew up? If so, what was it, or what were some of those thoughts? And then once you graduated high school, how did life kind of take you from there?
I'll be honest, I was pretty lost at the time. I never had any concept of competing, because like when I started working out pretty seriously at 17, 18, like men's physique didn't exist. So it's just open bodybuilding, and that was it. And so in my head, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do a natural bodybuilding competition at some point, open bodybuilding. And I was like 165 pounds. So it was definitely unrealistic at the time. And then I went into web design in college, because I was more of like a TV arts, web design sort of guy. Like it like just being on the computer sort of interested me at the time, which is the complete opposite of me now. I'm really not technologically like smart at all. So, yeah, I went into web design for a couple of years, and then, a year and a half in, I started to think of what next. And I went to Niagara College, and then I went to Brock University, for sport management. And then I had sort of considered, maybe going down that route. But by that point, I was already getting pretty serious into bodybuilding. Like when I was in college, I think I did my first show, and that was, I'll be honest, like my mom kind of suggested it to me. I had like a little bit of an idea of men's physique, not really, because again, like Instagram was barely a thing at the time, like barely. I think it had just started, so it was just pictures. It was very, very new at the time, so like the whole fitness scene thing wasn't really as popular. It wasn't popular to compete. It wasn't popular to be a bodybuilder. Like I would get chirped all the time telling me to go have a protein shake. Like it just wasn't the same vibe as it is now. Thankfully for now, but so I did my first show in college. I think it was 19. It was 2013. I did men's physique. I won the overall at that show. I barely dieted. I just did cardio. I didn't have a coach really. I had my friend sort of helping out. It was like a 4-week prep type of thing. And, I don't know how I won, but I won. So, and then I went to provincials in 2014, and it just snowballed from there. And I finished school. I graduated in 2019 with a bachelor in sport management. I hope that I can use that for the bodybuilding industry at some point in time, because I do see a lot of things that could change and help improve the sport for the athletes and fans. So, and even the promoters and just the overall production. I think there's a lot of things that could be changed, and hopefully using that degree will help out. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I played hockey and soccer through school, like intramurals mainly. Stayed active. I trained way too much, to be honest. I was training like twice a day a lot of the time. So yeah, I just kind of did the usual, like typical university guy type of thing, and partied here and there. Nothing too crazy, but I was trying to balance the best I could between bodybuilding and competitive bodybuilding and university and school and friends and relationships, whatever, right?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, once you did that first men's physique competition, what did that do for you? Because you said when you found kind of the lifting, it was kind of an escape for you at that point. When you did your first competition and went through the prep and then started competing more, was that another escape for you? Did you find some pleasure or some solace in the actual process of prepping and competing? Did you find some gratitude or some like some encouragement in the sense of like you actually won? So did that kind of boost your confidence, or did that kind of tie more into some of that anxiety just because of the stress of going through that process?
So this is actually how I found out that I'm born for this, because bodybuilding, being on stage, was the only time I didn't have anxiety. Like being on stage was so comfortable for me. And I'm not like a stage performer by any means. It just, people would always ask me like, dude, how do you go on stage and all these people are looking at you and judging you, like literally judging you? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I worked for it. Like, this is what I love to do. Like, I love the gym so much that this is just a part of it. And to me, it's just like, I just integrate the two. I don't really think of it as like, oh, people are judging me or whatever. I'm like, this is a part of the passion, and it's what I love to do. So, at the end of the day, like, that's how I learned. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It should kind of cause me a lot of anxiety, like being judged basically naked on stage. And here I am, like, thriving under it. Right. So, as soon as I did my first show, I had a lot of stress going into the show because I didn't know what to expect. I was like, what am I doing here? Sort of thing. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is not in my comfort zone. This is not in my realm, but I've tried new things before. I'll try new things again. So, I did my first show and I got a muscle tech contract right away, like literally immediately, like at the show. So think of it this way. Like, I didn't even like diet for the show. Really. It was a 4-week thing. I don't know anything about anything. Like, didn't even know how to get my tan. Didn't know anything about coaches. Like, I knew literally nothing. I just went, I didn't even know like center of first call out meant you won. I didn't even know anything about the posing. Like, I YouTubed the posing the night before. I had these random swim shorts that I got in the States for like $20, like 4 days out of the show. Like, I was super unprepared, and all of a sudden I'm a Muscle Tech sponsored athlete. like the next day, and I'm getting paid for a photo shoot, and I'm getting free supplements. And so for me, I was like, holy shit, like this is awesome, right? But it mainly came with like the feeling of like, wow, I did that, and it was just a sense of accomplishment and a sense of gratitude for what this has created in my life, like for all of the opportunities that it's created. And not only that, but all the people that it's aligned me with, right? Because like growing up, fitness wasn't really a thing, and the demographic that I come from isn't really fitness enthusiasts, and they're, if I'm being honest, they're not very supportive either. Like just the community isn't a very uplifting, supportive community. And so all of a sudden I'm meeting all these new people that I never would have met before, and they're all supportive because we all have the same goals, like we all have the same path in mind, sort of thing, and we're just there for each other to uplift one another. And I think that was what I was most grateful for. And I just felt like, wow, these are my people, this is where I belong, and this is what I was born to do. So I was just able to find peace in that as well, and find a lot to be grateful for, rather than focus on the anxiety. Outside of bodybuilding was more of the anxiety, and everything involved with bodybuilding, thankfully, was sort of where I found peace.
Who were now when you were kind of getting into the bodybuilding scene, the competing scene, do you remember like who the first pro bodybuilder was that you saw, like maybe on a magazine or maybe on a website or something? I mean, who was that? Do you remember, Tyler, or not necessarily?
The top two, actually, it was Kai Green and Phil Heath. Because I had watched that Olympia. That was the first time I watched it in 2012. That was the first Olympia I ever really watched. I mean, obviously I was very familiar with like Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, but it was never anything where I was like that interested. I just knew who they were. But watching Phil Heath and Kai Green, and then watching the progression of their rivalry, and watching the progression of them, and then watching the guys behind them. Yeah, man, like even just watching Phil Heath, and I know people didn't like him at the time, whatever, he wasn't the most popular, and Kai Green was, but watching how dominant he was, and watching how he still continued to improve and just become more and more dominant as people started hating him more, right? Like people just hate and hate and hate and push for Kai Green and push for whatever. And this guy just kept killing it, and he just kept coming back better and better. And it never bothered him. And at the time, I was a polarizing person as well, because I was very opinionated, and I was projecting a lot of the anxiety that I had, and anger and irritability and whatever. And I do stem that a lot from my gut health as well, by the way. However, so I was watching that, and I sort of resonated a little bit more with that as well. But yeah, I would just say, the Kai Green Phil Heath rivalry was probably what sparked my interest the most at the time.
Cool. Love it, man. Okay. So when did you transition into classic physique? When did you turn pro? Talk a little bit about that, Tyler, please.
So I did men's physique from 2013 until 2015. The last physique show I did was Canadian Nationals. So I did the Arnold's before that, didn't place very well, and I did Nationals. I got like 11th or something. At the time there was still like 25, 30 guys, but I think I got 11th. And then I was actually planning on doing the Arnold's the next year, and then I was like, well, what's the point? Like they just went a completely different way than the physique I'm going to bring in, so I'd rather just get better. And they just started Classic Physique that year, 2016. And so watching it, I was like, I feel like I could grow into this. I didn't really have the best legs, but I could always come in good condition. So I was able to sort of maintain a little bit of a balance that way. So I started Classic Physique in 2016. I did small regional show, won it, and then I did provincials, got third. Was a little disappointed that I got third, not in the judging, but in the fact that I deserved third place. I was disappointed in what I presented. So I took 2017 off to make some improvements. And then I came back in 2018. I did the Toronto Pro Qualifier, which was the first year that they did it since they did the CPA and CBBF split. And then I won that, but I didn't get the pro card. And then I did Canadian Nationals. I got second place to the pro card winner. And then I took the year, and then I came back in 2019 and I won Canadian Nationals, the overall. And that's when I turned pro. And I didn't do my first pro show until 2021, the end of 2021, which was the Hurricane Pro in Florida. And I got fourth there. And then I actually could have did the Toronto Pro 5 weeks later, which I could have won. I don't know, but it was the fact that I wasn't 100% positive in my presentation that I was going to win. And I'm the type of person where if I'm going in there to win, I have to literally visualize that win for like a long time coming. I need to know the stage. I need to visualize like every step of the competition process, not just on stage. Like I'm visualizing like walking, like backstage, getting my tan, like being in my hotel room, walking into the venue, walking out of like everything, like literally everything that comes with doing a show. I visualize beforehand, so then I can literally create the vision. So while the vision's being created, I'm just taking steps forward to making that a reality. So just manifestation, right? So I took a little bit more time off, and then did the June 2022 Toronto Pro Show, and then that's where I won, and then that's where I qualified for the Olympia.
Okay, now when you turn pro, let's talk about that, because obviously anybody that's an NPC athlete, or I know it's different there in Canada, a CPA, I believe in Canada. I mean, that's the first step for you guys and the ladies to, you know, become an IFBB Pro, obviously, but you know, to step on those pro stages. So step one is to get that pro card. You did that. I mean, walk us through a little bit of the feelings, the emotions, and just kind of some of those thoughts that you had when you got that pro card. I mean, was it an overwhelming, exciting experience, or at that time, did you kind of just check the box and move on to the next thing?
So, you know, this ties into ego and a state of unconsciousness, which I don't remember anything, dude. If I'm being honest, I don't remember any of it. I do sort of remember having like this feeling of gratitude of like, wow, like I got the card. I got it. I've been working for this specifically for 6 years now. I got it. So it was a sense of relief for sure. But I had such a massive ego, and like the entire process was all about like the pressure of winning. I had to win, or I'm a loser, but you know, otherwise, like, what am I even doing? Like, maybe I quit. I just put way too much pressure on myself to win that show. And I had a circle of influence that kind of fed that ego a little bit too much. So unfortunately, it wasn't a very like uplifting process as much as like winning the Toronto Pro, or even competing at the Olympia was, despite not placing. Like, it was just the energy was very uplifting there versus my pro card. And like, if I'm being honest, like I a lot of the people that were even there celebrating, like, they're not people who are even in my life anymore. Like, they weren't like genuine. It wasn't there weren't genuine connections at the time, and it was because I wasn't genuine with myself. So that's why I think that process sort of gets a little bit overlooked. But you know, at the end of the day, it was relieving. I was grateful. I cried after. You know, I still felt what I felt from the experience. But you know, as I look back, I remember one of my friends, he was filming actually, and he literally told me, he's like, dude, it didn't even look like you knew what was going on after you won. It didn't look like you were present at all. And at the time I thought, oh, you know, whatever, you know, because like you said, I was just checking off a box sort of thing. You know, because my goal is Olympia, and a pro card doesn't get you to the Olympia. It's just a stepping stone at the end of the day, right? So that was my sort of thought process at the time. However, because he said that, I don't even think he realizes how much it resonated with me. Like, it didn't at the time, but you know, 2, 3, 4 years later, I'm like, oh wow. Like, so this whole Olympia process, Toronto, Hurricane Pro, all of it was dedicated to presence. I'm not fixated on the result. I have no attachment to the result. I'm solely focused on being present in the moment. There's always going to be stressors every single show that happen. Doesn't matter where you are, what category you're in, whatever. There's always going to be stressors. So you can either let it stress you out, or you can come back to the moment and realize the moment isn't all that stressful, right? In presence, we find peace. So being able to stay present, I was just able to stay in a peaceful state of mind, and it really helped me through all of these last pro shows. And you know, like, you would think like being at the Olympia is stressful. Doing a pro show at all, a pro show in front of your friends and family, your first pro show ever, traveling outside of the country alone, you're competing alone, you don't even have anyone here with you. That was the first time I ever did that. I've never competed alone ever in my life. So like, being able to focus on that presence I just had no stress. So, you know, it helped me a lot.
Mm. Awesome, man. Okay. So, I know you already mentioned it, but mention it one more time. What pro show did you win to qualify for this year's Olympia?
The Toronto Pro in June.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
coming in, so you had your awakening, you went through your awakening in 2021 in this kind of renaissance period in your life. Now, what was your mindset then wrapping up 2021 going into 2022, and then walk us through just kind of the processes of the preps that you were involved with, and then when you were able to solidify or capture, you know, that qualification for the Olympia. I mean, walk us through that a little bit.
So coming into 2022, I mean, it was still all about healing and everything, but I felt like I had sort of started the process at least. So it was like, I wasn't like starting from scratch. I got through a lot of the darkness. So there was a lot more light coming into 2022, and I was able to use that light to guide me, you know, rather than be a little bit more scattered. But, you know, I learned a lot coming into 2022 because it wasn't actually as smooth as I kind of wish it was, because I allowed my health to not be the best. And all I mean by that is just, I was eating a little bit more sugar than I usually do, and sugar is literally just poison. So I learned a lot about my gut health through that experience as well. Even though I'd already been aware of it, I sort of just let myself get a little bit complacent. I thought, well, I'm good now, you know, I've healed, I've done all this work, and then all of a sudden I started to go down again, and I'm like, wait a second. And, you know, I had to catch myself in a very large state of ego, basically. Again, I just felt like I fell backwards almost a little bit. And I'm thankful for that, because it created a lot of awareness, and it taught me as to why I went back into that state of ego. And I do believe food is a big reason. I do believe my gut health was a big reason. But also the ideology that, like, well, I've done the work, so I'm good now. You know, at the end of the day, we're always a continuous work in progress, and it's extremely important to never get complacent in what you're doing. If you have habits developed that are good for you, that are creating a healthy environment for you, do not stop them. Continue them. Be mindful of what you're doing every day and how it's impacting you. So that was sort of what I learned through coming into 2022. And then I was able to just, the goal was to reconnect to myself as much as I could, so that I could just be, again, like in a state of peace. I can use my time by myself, because one thing that for me specifically is I would always try and be in a relationship of some kind, like always have someone there, because I can never be alone, you know. And that was like a big problem that I had, that came with it, the anxiety, depression. It was a trauma response, basically, at the end of the day, trauma bonding, right? So I was just always looking for someone to be there for me, and made me realize, like, I need to be there for me. I need to be that relationship that I have. You know, I need to love myself. I need to be there for myself, and I just need to be the person that I need at all times. So, you know, this past year I've just been like by myself, sort of thing, and you know, I've been able to disconnect from energy that didn't align with me, and I've been able to reconnect with myself and connect with new energy that does align with me. And you know, that came from reconnecting with myself, like learning about myself, like what energy do I even want? Like, what am I trying to manifest? Like, what am I trying to do here? What's the purpose? Who am I? You know, and learning these things. Yeah, it's just been able to align me on the path of getting to Olympia, because in January 2021, that was one of the catalysts of change. Like, dude, you are not an Olympian. Like, you will never get to the Olympia. You'll never even place first call out at a pro show if you continue to do what you're doing. Not only that, but let's just say you get lucky and get to the Olympia somehow, you are not a good role model. If someone were to look up to you, or kids, or someone, they're going on your Instagram, they're looking up who they are, and they see your negative opinions, and they see you eating like shit all the time, and they see that you're a swollen mess all the time, you're not living the lifestyle. You're a fraud, basically. And being a fraud was the reason I had so much anxiety and imposter syndrome and a lack of self-confidence. So that was like coming into 2022. I'm like, man, you have to figure it out, basically. Like, you've learned so much from 2021 that you need to start applying everything that you've learned. And so all of 2022 is just about learning, making mistakes, allowing myself to make mistakes, allowing myself to be vulnerable, and just being open-minded about everything, open-minded to learn more, not fixating on, well, this worked, so I'm just going to continue to do that. like just an example, like I was eating muffins going into Toronto Pro, like that was my pre-workout meal, Costco sized muffins. And don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed eating them. But at the same time, I didn't love the look at Toronto. I felt like, and these are things that I'm looking at and feeling too, is the gut inflammation. I'm like, I just feel like there's a layer of inflammation there. Most people would never even know that or see that or care. But, we're our own worst critic at the end of the day, but that's also how you get better. So, I told my coach at the time, I'm like, yo, like I need to get rid of these muffins. I need to keep it clean because I feel like I could lose a little bit more weight. And the weight is just inflammation. It's not even fat. It's not even muscle. It's not even really water. It's literally just gut inflammation. So, being able to just be self-aware and make the hard decisions and make decisions that like, yeah, my ego would love to eat muffins and I would love to tell people I'm eating muffins and winning pro shows, which I technically did, right? Like it's something that, I usually like brag about, but it's like, I don't want to brag about that. I want to be my best. So being my best involves eating clean all the time and taking care of my gut, taking care of my mental health, my emotional health, reconnecting to myself spiritually, and most importantly, my physical health. So, yeah, that was sort of the game plan coming into 2022. Just, all of those aspects of health, those are the priorities. And then making sure that I'm, giving myself everything that I need and just taking care of myself in every way.
So with this new perspective and mindset, how are your preps, including the Olympia prep, Tyler, this past year compared to previous preps? Because I'm assuming, obviously, like you said, there's always going to be speed bumps and hiccups along the road in anything, especially with preps. But I mean, did you find a groove within these preps? Did you feel just the difference? Did you feel in alignment with yourself and with the preps as you had the new perspective and mindset?
If any competitors are watching this, dude, night and day, like those were the worst preps of my entire life. I felt like I was suffering every single day, every minute, every second, counting down until my next meal. I eat my meal and just think, when's my next meal? I'm counting down the minutes. I felt horrible. I felt toxic. I literally thought I was dying. Like it felt like my body and mind were just dying on me. And every single prep, I would just count down the days until the prep was over. That's all I was thinking about. When is this over? Okay, 4 weeks out. Okay, that's 28 days. Okay, just get through today. And then it's only 27 days left, right? Whereas my past 3 preps, since Hurricane Pro, since Toronto Pro, since Olympia, never felt like prep. Now, there were days where I was tired. There were days where, by 5 p.m., my brain capacity is a little bit lower. But by no means ever was I counting down until my next meal. I was never starving. And that comes from their mindset of like, I'm not fixated on the food, right? Like I'm immersed in the process. So this is the process. This is what I love to do. I'm grateful for the process. I'm grateful for what I'm doing. You no longer think of what you lack. You think of what you have. So that was one thing that changed a lot too. The health aspect, I think, was the biggest change as well. Gut health completely changed my prep. Inflammation management, stress management, not taking as much gear. I know people hate to hear this because they love to pump as much as they can. I maybe took not even half, if I'm being completely honest. I don't even think I was taking half the amount that I used to take. And that played a huge role in how I felt as well, because I no longer had that toxicity. I slept like a baby every single night. I never had this prep insomnia, which I used to. I used to never sleep. And I would just literally starve all night, take 10 melatonin. I would just keep taking melatonin until I eventually, it's 5:30. Okay, well, now is an acceptable time to get up, I guess, and get on with your day. Whereas, these past 3 preps, yeah, I still wake up relatively early, but it's with energy. It's with purpose. I'm not starving. I go do my thing in the morning. I come back. I never thought about food. And it was just, I just felt really, really at peace with the process. I felt really like connected to the process, connected to myself in the process. And then, like I said, like, rather than like, you spend the nights watching TV and just counting down the minutes until the next meal, I would just chill, unwind, relax, just clear my mind, sit outside, just enjoy nature, go for a walk, just do things that I felt were like good for me. And yeah, just it never felt like prep, if I'm being completely honest. Like I said, like a few days where you're tired, whatever, but you never have that like, holy shit, I'm in contest prep, like this sucks. whereas it used to just always suck. And I think that's one thing that made me appreciate the process a lot more, is being able to actually just like live in it. You know what I mean? Like I'm conscious in it versus just always waiting, and you're always looking for the next, or waiting what you're focusing on what you lack, you know?
Okay, now before we talk a little bit about the Olympia, let's knock out this talk about gut health. I always love talking about it because I know that there's a lot of people that are in the fitness industry, specifically people that are competitors, whether they know it or not or want to admit it or not. There's a lot of people that struggle with some sort of gut health related issues. Some of them are very, very serious. And I think a lot of times people just kind of like brush it underneath the rug, or they don't even know what's going on. Their coach doesn't know what's going on. So here, take some probiotics, you know, drink this. And it's just a mess. So I want you to kind of give us the nitty gritty, the details, give us the full scope. You said that you actually had some sort of like, you know, major gut issue or something. So give us the whole details, and then we'll kind of finish up with Olympia talk, if you don't mind, Tyler.
Yeah, so I have gastroparesis. I mean, it's a gut disease, and honestly, it's one of many that a lot of people have. A lot of people have gut diseases and are unaware. So what happened was, like I said, it would just block my digestion. So as I was eating, if I even could eat, it would just swell my gut. And I didn't know, it would just feel like to me, I'm just not hungry. And then what would happen is I would actually start throwing up bile because my stomach was so full, because nothing was moving. This actually came from eating processed food. I would pretty much only eat processed food for the most part. But also not only just processed food, but stress. So a lot of people like severely underestimate the consequences of stress. Literally just stress alone. Like if you're just like not processing your emotions properly, you can swell your gut just from that. And if you swell your gut, well, now your organs might not function the way they need to. Now your hormones are not going to function the way they need to. You're going to get brain fog. You're going to get irritable. You're going to get depression. You're going to get anxiety, because what's happening is the food that's not digesting is actually leaking in your bloodstream. And if it's processed food, especially, it's going to cause a lot of issues, mainly mental health issues. So it's really just an endless cycle, and everything's connected. So for me, it was like stress of the trauma that oh, sorry, I think it's my fire.
I can't even hear anything.
Okay, that freaked me out. Yeah, they're testing the fire.
Yeah, I can hear it now. A little talking or whatever. You're good, man. Keep going.
Yeah. So for me, it was a lot of stress, self-induced stress that I had to admit to myself that I'm the reason for all my stress. That alone was like a huge weight off my shoulder. I was like, holy shit, like I'm the reason. Okay, well, if I'm the reason, then I can do something about it, right? So then it got into the nutrition, and then as I started to, so what I had to do, so I started working with a naturopath. I told him, here's my symptoms, blah, blah, blah. He said, it sounds like you have gastroparesis. Let's just go with that and do what we can. And then we'll see, and we'll go from there, sort of thing. We'll get blood tests if we need to, but it sounds like you have this. Let's just do that. So I added in 2 supplements, digestive bitters and DGL licorice root. They're both like gut anti-inflammatories. They're natural. I will not recommend ever using like any sort of medication, because also pharmaceutical medications swell the gut as well. And the swelling of the gut, then again, depression, anxiety, pain, inflammation. And when your gut is swollen, that's when like you end up with like neck pain and back pain and hip pain and shoulder and all these random pains that just show up out of nowhere. And you're like, why is my neck so sore? Well, your neck's sore because you have a high inflammatory response from something that you're doing, eating, consuming. You're not managing your stress properly. You're not managing your inflammation properly. You know, even just like get like Tylenol, Aleve, like all of these over-the-counter prescriptions, they're causing a lot of health issues. And so for me, I took those supplements, completely changed my diet, and I completely went against bodybuilding rules and started undereating, severely undereating. I was doing like 2 to 3 meals a day of just like eggs and oatmeal, and then like, you know, maybe like chicken and rice or something, like something easy to get down. But I had to reset everything. I had to really just like say, fuck it. I'm getting small, but I'm going to reset my gut. I lost 10, I think I went from 238 to 217. So whatever that is, 15 pounds, give or take, or whatever. I'll let 20. I don't know. I'm not even
trying. It's okay. We're not, who cares about the math?
Yeah, I'm not big on quick math, but 238.
Close enough, man.
Yeah, 217 within like 2 weeks. And then I slowly started to add the food back in, only whole food sources, because one thing I'll say is like human beings are a part of nature. So we require nature to thrive. We cannot process man-made products. If processed junk food, pharmaceutical, anything that's man-made, we cannot process it the same way we can process whole food sources or nature sources, right? So I really only stuck to whole food sources, took the supplements I needed to take, like even magnesium and omegas and vitamin D and, a few other supplements, glutamine. I was able to start healing my gut that way. And to be honest, like through healing my gut, all of a sudden I had clarity in my mind and the gut mind connection. I was able to connect to myself a lot more. I was able to start seeing clearly. I was able to start that, having that clarity within. And I really do think that it started with healing my gut, heal the gut, heal the mind. So yeah, and then I just started and again, even like PEDs, like making sure I'm not swelling the gut with PEDs, taking orals, especially in the off season. That was one thing I learned as well. I would take an oral, for example, and then all of a sudden I can't eat 4 days later. And I'm like, okay, well, that oral, was swelling my gut, and therefore that I can't eat. So remove the oral, all of a sudden I can eat again. And it really really highlighted the importance of food for me. And, I again, the industry is so fixated on what can I take? What can I take to get there? And it's like, well, dude, I promise you, at least from my experience, the healthier you are, the more progress you're going to make, because your body is able to utilize all of the nutrients that you're intaking. Not only that, but you're able to sleep to recover, so that again, your body is uptaking all of the nutrients. It's focused on just growing, because that's what you're telling it to do. Versus, oh, you're putting all these pharmaceuticals in me. Oh, you're putting all this processed food in me. Oh, you're stressed all the time. You're not managing it. So guess what? The body now has to like put out all those fires. That's what it's doing. It has to put out all those fires before it can start putting muscle on or burning fat. So that's why a lot of people struggle. Their body fights them to get in shape, or fights them to put size on. And how many guys you hear that say, oh, I have such a hard time eating. Oh, I can't get all my meals in. Like I can't. Yeah, because your gut's swollen, more than likely. Like that's more than likely the issue. And how many guys say, I have to eat dirty, otherwise my weight's going to go down. Yeah, your weight's going down because you're inflamed. That's a good thing. You don't want that specific weight on you. You actually want to lose that weight, so that way your body can start processing everything that's processing. So yeah, I mean, I can go on for days about gut health, to be honest. It's probably a little annoying to some people because I used to post it so often, but it really will 100% not only change your life like internally, but if you're a bodybuilder, you're going to go from here to here immediately, because all of a sudden you're going to open your eyes to like, holy shit, I was just preventing myself from progress so much, when all I had to do was just, we know, like, focus on your health, be healthier. Like everyone in the entire world knows that. It's the freaking voice in the back of their head, their intuition, their gut, whatever, guiding them. It's that light guiding them, saying, be healthier, go exercise, eat whole food sources, stop eating processed junk food, make sure you get enough sleep, stop drinking alcohol, whatever it is, right? So, as far as I'm concerned, health is wealth. So that's just something I've been prioritizing over the past couple of years. And, I went from there's no way I ever would have even placed in a pro show. And I just competed at the Olympia, and I really attribute it to a lot of the healing, but most importantly, my focus on health and gut health specifically.
Amen, man. Love it, Tyler. All right, let's start wrapping up. Why don't you talk about your first experience at the Classic Physique Olympia just a few weeks ago? What was it like, man? Walk us through a little bit.
It was insane, man. It was that was the greatest experience of my life. I've been asked what I felt, and the only word that comes to mind is ecstasy in the purest form. Like I was just riding high the whole time from start to finish. Maybe it was the Vegas energy, the mountains, I don't know, but I just felt love the whole time. I felt like this is where I belong. This is where I meant to be. The networking opportunities were amazing. The people were amazing. Everyone's so like-minded. Everyone's so supportive. It was a little bit, if I want to get in the nitty-gritty, it was a little bit crowded with so many guys, if I'm just being honest about it. It felt like a little bit watered down at the same time. but at the end of the day, it's the Olympia, and I understand what the that it's just the way it worked out. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone meant for it to happen or whatever. I don't think that was the goal or whatever. But at the same time, it was amazing. Like there was just, and again, like those are like little stressors maybe that are coming up and whatever. But it's like doesn't matter. I'm not attached to that. I'm literally detached from everything that outside of my control, because that's the thing. I can't control it. Can't control the judging. Can't control who's there. Can't control what they want. Can't control anything other than what's going on within and how I adapt to everything that comes my way. So I just felt like it was a super peaceful experience, super uplifting experience, a super humbling experience, and one that I just learned so much from, one that I feel like I grew, like I just feel like I went like years ahead from that one experience. You know what I mean? Like I just took everything that I learned from it. I'm like, holy shit, like I'm like 5 years ahead now. And I'm just excited. I felt like I deserved to not to place. And it's funny because people all like they'll ask me, how did you do? How did it go? And I'm like, oh, I placed tied for last. I didn't place well. And they're all like, oh, well, get them next. I'm like, I'm not disappointed. Like I have no sense of disappointment. I have no sense of regret or resentment or anything. I'm excited because I looked at the guys. They're bigger than me. They're thicker. I saw what I needed to work on, and I'm going to get back to work. And like the work part of it is like the process is what I love. Like it's not the result, because at the end of the day, whether I'm first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th, whatever, the paycheck really isn't going to pay my bills at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not there for money. I'm not there for anything other than the growth opportunity. And of course I want to win. I'm a competitor, but I just took it as why didn't I win? Okay. I learned why I didn't win, and now I'm going to get back to work and take my steps forward and make sure that next time I'm on stage, I'm back in the winner's circle. And the next time I'm back at the Olympia, I'm getting my fair look. So right now it's just a matter of go back to work. You know what you need to work on now, because I stood next to those guys, which I'm so grateful for, because I never had that perspective before. I've only done 2 pro shows, and, there was only one Olympian out of the 2 pro shows. Right. So, being able to see them in flesh and be there in person next to them, and, being able to look at it in a fair lens. I stood next to Urs, who was 3rd place. So third, right? 3rd or 4th. I think he was 3rd. So having that perspective just helped me in so many ways, helped me elevate, helped me grow. So, I have nothing bad to say about the experience. It was just all love and just the best experience of my life.
Now I want to ask you, it's fun sometimes for me to ask this to pro athletes and Olympians. This being your first Olympia, obviously all of us are human beings. We all have feelings. We all have emotions. We all have other human beings that we tend to admire or look up to or respect. So was there any type of I don't like to use the word fanboying, but I mean, was it a little surreal, like seeing some of these top classic physique Olympians, like being backstage with them, seeing some of the open men's guys, I'm sure, walking around? Like, was it a little surreal? Was it a little like, I mean, did the younger Tyler, the fan Tyler, kind of come out a little bit, or not really?
Yeah, a little bit. And honestly, it was something I had to like force myself into, because as a competitor, I'm very like focused. I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Like I don't have that, like, I don't have that necessarily fanboy in me where I'm like, oh my God, this person or whatever. But I was like, I'm never gonna, like, this is my first time meeting these people. I want to make a good impression, but also I want to feel the energy. I want to be the energy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be like negative energy or like, oh, I'm just gonna stick to myself, and because that's what I always do. So like being in my last couple pro shows, I've been more like open and just shooting the shit with the guys. Like I just look at them as the guys, you know what I mean? I try not to look at them as like up here or like whatever, but at the same time, I do appreciate all that they're doing in the sport. So like when I'm at the meet and greet, first of all, people are coming up to my booth and I'm thinking like, who am I for you to come up to me? Right. Cause like Urs is right there, Breon, Rough Diesel, Chris is in the other room. These guys have lines for days. And I'm like, wow, like look at what they've done. You know what I mean? Like look at the impact that they've had in the sport. That's where my fanboy comes in. I'm like, God damn, like I got a lot of work to do if I ever want to have that same impact. Yeah, but I took pictures with a lot of guys, man. And again, I just made myself do it because it's not something it's out of my comfort zone sort of thing. And maybe it's my social anxiety or the old me kind of having that habit of having anxiety. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was just something I forced myself into and just said, you know what, Tyler, like just just go say hi, say what's up, take a picture, you know, shoot the shit. And if you align with them or sort of thing, and you guys, you know, hit it off, all good. If not, you got a picture with them, whatever, you know what I mean? So a few of the guys I really did hit it off with, Keon, Joel Thomas, Logan, Franklin, you know, a few of the guys, and then a few of the other guys I just got a picture with, you know, and honestly, that's cool with me. You can tell when some people like look at you as a fan or look at you just as another guy sort of thing. Oh, Rough Diesel too. Talked to him as well. And yeah, man, it was a really good experience, and definitely some fanboy in me a little bit, but tried not to be like too eager, you know.
Yeah, we as bodybuilders, we got to be hardcore all the time, right, Tyler?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, cool, man. I want to ask you, I guess, kind of wrapping up a couple things I want to touch on here, and then I'll let you go.
Yeah.
I saw in one of your recent Instagram posts that your main focus in terms of body parts that you're trying to bring up or add, you know, tissue to for this off season are your arms and legs. So,
Yeah.
talk a little bit about how you're prioritizing your arms and your legs. What does that training kind of look like? I know you had your current split on the IG. Not everybody that's going to watch or listen to this is going to see that. So why don't you give us your current split as well, please?
So current split is Sunday arms, Monday quads, Tuesday either a rest or shoulders. Wednesday's back, a little bit of buys, Thursday's chest, a little bit of tries, Friday's hams and glutes, and then Saturday is my rest days. So yeah, the goal is legs. That's why I split them up. I have 2 leg days technically, split between quads and hams. My glutes were always an issue because I had learned, again, literally just like a few weeks ago, that I actually had nerve damage in my glutes. And that's from just pinning for so long. Like my glutes were my main spot that I would like to inject. And what happens if you inject the same spot, just from my experience, is that you're going to end up blocking the nerves. So there's just going to be a little bit of a disconnect from where you're trying to connect, whether you're training or flexing or posing, whatever. So I realized that I had a hard time flexing my glutes, and I'm trying to train them and I'm not really feeling them as much. And, you know, so I had to like go back to the drawing board and get some work done, RMT, acupuncture, stop shooting in that area. And so, yeah, I split up my hams and glutes. So I'm really excited now that I've learned that to be able to bring them up. I worked with a trainer at Pure Muscle, Eric Seifert, on learning more quad techniques to be able to engage them better. And that's something I've never really done before. I've never really like hired a trainer before because, you know, I'm a pro bodybuilder. I know what I'm doing, but, you know, at the end of the day, I want to learn more. So there's always more to learn. And I did learn a lot more. So I encourage anyone at any level, whether you're at the Olympia or whether you're doing your first show, never think you know everything, because you don't. There's always more to learn, no matter what. Like you can learn one tip from someone, and it can elevate your training. It can, you know, help you progress a lot more. So with arms, yeah, I'm hitting more volume, focusing less on the shoulders because my shoulders are my strong point, and they actually like they take away from my arms quite a bit. So you know, again, that's just like having awareness and just being transparent with yourself and being objective. So I just want to bring up my arms, because Classic is like, although it's not necessarily an arm show, it does enhance the physique a lot. Like I don't have the crazy lat width or clavicle width, so I kind of have to make up for that with my arms. And then my legs don't sweep as much when I get flat, and I'm perpetually flat because I have a fast metabolism and I'm a naturally skinny guy. So it's important that especially I stay full, but also important that I make sure that I put full muscle onto those body parts so that I can create that X frame from like top to bottom, right? So yeah, and then I'm just going to make sure that I utilize food and do high days on my leg days and my arm days. Just utilize the food around the training a little bit more, heavier pre-workout, like meal 1 and meal 2, meal 3 mainly, because I train after 2 meals. And then the 4, 5, 6 can be a little bit, you know, moderate, but the high meals are the main concern for those days specifically. And then again, like working with another trainer, Big Mike Van Wyck from Pure Muscle as well. I'm gonna hit some arms with him on Sunday, and just learning everything that I can learn, man, and just making sure, because here's the thing, even if I don't love all of their techniques, even if I just get one technique from them, I'm good. It's worth my money. It's worth learning from. And again, I can hit other muscle groups with them and learn more that way. So, but the main focus, I'll be honest, is the food this off season, maintaining a high calorie intake, maintaining a good body fat percentage, but also most importantly, maintaining my health through the process. So For anyone who's interested, like I'm gonna best I can document it on YouTube. If they want to go to my YouTube, I think it's at Tyler Johnson IFBB, and then Instagram too is Tyler Johnson _ IFBB. Just for, because not only is it learning experience for me, but then it also helps like my clients, but also helps prospective clients, and then just also helps bodybuilders, health and fitness enthusiasts, even just learn and get a little insight on something new, right? It's not the typical approach. It's a little bit like backwards actually, because it's health focused rather than physique focused. But I believe the physique will follow the health. So yeah, I'm really excited. Just focus on the food choices, food intake, and food timing as well. So
cool, man. Okay, I want to go back to something you brought up in our conversation way back in the beginning of the podcast. You mentioned kind of going through your morning routine. Is there something like very specific in terms of like the morning routine, or was that just kind of verbiage that you were using kind of to go through your morning?
No, morning routine and night routine are very important. I believe that if you have a routine in the morning, you start your day the same every single day. So you're starting off on a right foot every single day. You're organized, you're productive, and you're in flow. Flow state has been literally my motto for the past 2 years. I put it on my Olympian merch. It's all over my Instagram. That's how you create flow state for the day. You have a beginning and you have an end. The rest of the day just flows in between. So for me, my morning routine at the moment, I'm still, because I'm post show, I'm trying to regather it a little bit and figure out what I love and what's going to keep me going every single morning. Because I have a little bit more energy and a little bit more time and a little bit more freedom now that I'm not in prep, right? So this morning I woke up, I started with 15 minutes of yoga, had my coffee. This was at like 5 a.m., 4:30 or something. I did 15 minutes of yoga. I drank my coffee while reading. I read a chapter of my book. So those are two things that I want to make sure I'm doing every single day, is yoga or stretching and reading every single day. So I did that, and then I the little things like do my dishwasher. Like it's literally like a daily thing. I do my dishwasher, and then I take my pre-workout. It's just like caffeine supplements, energy burner, and brain fuel from Believe Supplements. You can use code Tyler for 15% off for Believe Supplements. So I take those. It's like my little caffeine boost for the morning. So I'm all stimmed out. Take all my vitamins, take all my minerals, take all my morning supplements, and then I'm ready to go. So I go to the gym, do my cardio, which is right now 30 minutes on the treadmill, 15 to 20 minutes on the bike. So about like 45 to 50 minutes every morning. And then I'll do my abs, and then I'll do calves. And then if I don't stretch here, I'll stretch at the gym. And I come home, I have my green shake, like literally every morning. And then I, have my shower, and then have my meal one. And it's literally the same thing every single morning. Like, even after the show, I haven't missed cardio after the show. Even literally the Sunday after the Olympia, I did cardio that morning. I went to bed at like 3 a.m. because I tried to go out and eat and whatever, do some things with my family and uncles and whatever, and just enjoy the night sort of thing after the show and have some fun. We went to the night show and like had like one drink or something. So had a little bit of fun. And then like I got back at like 3 a.m. and by 7, I'm already doing my cardio. You know what I mean? Like there's just I feel like if you stay in that routine, you keep your mind in a flow. Like you just keep it like centered, because as soon as you get out of routine, everything is scattered, right? So you just stick to your routine. The middle of the day is where you have your freedom to do whatever you want, but as long as you start the day the same, you end the day the same, everything in between is always going to flow. So it is very important to me. And I do recommend, I literally tell my clients all the time, because a lot of my clients or people that I start working with will tell me I have issues sleeping at night. I'm not getting the best sleep. And it's frustrating when they're like, I know it's important, but it's like, you don't know how important it is because you're not prioritizing it. So I tell them, you're going to start a nighttime routine. I don't care what it is. You're going to start it, and you're going to do it every single night. So write it down for me, send it to me, tell me what you're going to do. And then 2 days from now, tell me what you did the past 2 days, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, super important. If you want progress, you want like peace in your life, you kind of want to remove that chaotic feeling and stress, make sure that you have a morning routine and a night routine for sure.
I think I'm going to start calling you the holistic bodybuilder, Tyler. What do you think about that, man?
I love that. I actually really appreciate it, to be honest.
Yeah. No, it's cool, man. I won't get too long-winded on this, but I do think it's important. I brought it up before, but the longer you go through this endeavor of what we call bodybuilding, if you're open to it, if you can let go of your ego and be open to it, bodybuilding can really teach you so many depths of life, and there's so many experiences within the experience and process of bodybuilding. Like it's mind-blowing. And I've just kind of recently am starting to learn that myself. Like it's more than just moving weight, right? It's more than just going to the gym. It's more than just, checking the boxes. It's a process that you can literally just, get lost in and engulf yourself in. And there's so much growth and maturity as a human being within the processes of this experience that we call bodybuilding, right?
Yeah, it's a journey of self-discovery, right? And it is much more than just lifting weights and eating food and whatever. But at the same time, like if you're lifting weights and you're under the bar, you're under, you're doing a squat, bench, deadlift, whatever it is, you're gonna get to a point where like the bar is gonna crush you. You know what I mean? And you find out in those moments who you are. And one question I always ask myself and other people, I literally have a video of me yelling at myself doing squats. Who are you? Because you're gonna find out. You're gonna find out what you're made of, and you're gonna find out who you are. Especially, if you want to find out. For me, it was the darkness, the anxiety, the depression, and bodybuilding taught me who I was through that time. And because I had experienced that literally every single day for 26 years. And I'm still going to the gym. I'm still getting my meals in. Although at the time the meals were not the best, but the priority still remains the same. It's you feel like dog shit today and you don't want to go and you don't want to be here and you don't even want to be alive. You don't want to be breathing, but we got shit to do today and we have to do it. And if we want to reach our goals, we want to be a pro, we want to get to the Olympia, you have to do what you have to do today. It doesn't matter how you feel, of course, within reason, rest is important. And I should have taken more rest at the time and I should have taken more care of myself at the time. But you still have shit to do today, man, and you have to do it. If you want to get there, you have to do it. There's literally no way to get to the top of Everest without climbing, so you have to do the work. I thought about it yesterday, literally yesterday, actually, about how much more bodybuilding teaches of self-development and character development and really the depths of who you are and why. And, I think a lot of people miss out on that experience because they're so fixated on the ego and they're so fixated on the result and getting big and what people are thinking in the picture. And I want the likes and the follows and whatever. And, like you said, it's the process, man. And you got to fully immerse yourself within the process to really appreciate what you can learn and what it's all about. And, I'm so grateful for bodybuilding. It saved my life, clearly, for one, but also just, it's provided me with a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience, a wealth of learning, a wealth of just like, I never would have known any of this about gut health or mental health or spirituality or anything. I wouldn't know anything about anything if I didn't have bodybuilding. And it's definitely the journey of self-discovery that I can appreciate the most out of it.
Beautiful, man. I think that's a great place to end it, Tyler. Before I do a quick outro and I do let you go, you've already given us your Instagram, but if you do want to share anything else in terms of like shout outs, sponsors, anything of that nature, if you do have any final thoughts or final words outside of what you just shared with us, I'm going to turn it over to you and then I'll do a quick outro and I'll let you go. So platform's yours, my man.
So sponsors, Believe Supplements, code Tyler, Jed North for clothing. They have both gym apparel and like outdoor apparel. Like it's everything. Code Tyler for that. S Force watches, Tyler 15. And then I don't get anything from this, but I actually got a code for the digestive bitters from the St. Francis Herbs website. You can use code Tyler J and save 15% off. I don't get anything. I literally just did it for my clients because I want them using that product so much. It's a gut health supplement. I got that. If anyone wants to use it, by all means. Instagram is Tyler Johnson _ IFBB. My coaching page is Ascension Fitness 22. And then my YouTube is Tyler Johnson IFBB as well. In terms of like anything I have to say, honestly, dude, I just appreciate you having me on. I appreciate everyone who's listening, for the follows, the likes, the support. This Olympia prep has just uplifted me in so many ways with the support that I've been shown. true, genuine support from people who have nothing to gain from it. You know what I mean? And that's what I appreciate the most, is just the love and support from everyone, and the excitement that they get in the it's so insane, dude. Like the excitement that people are getting in the process, and then when I lose, like they're just as excited. Like they don't even care how you do, you know. And people like come out of shows and they start apologizing to their friends and family. It's like, I'm really sorry I didn't do how you wanted me to do. It's like, no one cares. Like they're just excited depending on the energy that you have. Like I came out of there all excited. I'm like, I'm gonna get back to work and I'm gonna get huge and whatever. I'm gonna do the work, you know, whatever. And people are just so excited about that anyways. So that's something I'm really grateful for. And you know, even the fact that anyone wants to have me on their podcast or interview me or get to know me or provides me an outlet for other people to get to know me, and you know, increases my exposure, increases my reach, most importantly so that I can you know, present the information on gut health and health in general, and how we can use health to better ourselves as bodybuilders rather than the other way around. I don't believe in this notion that bodybuilding has to be unhealthy, and we've seen it a million times. Everyone says it, even to this day, and I'm out here to disagree. I came out of the Olympia, I came out of the Toronto Pro, both shows, perfect blood work. Everything was in range. I got kidneys tested, I got liver, liver was elevated, which it has to be elevated. You train every day, and orals and whatever, but my kidneys were fine. My blood work was perfect. My hormones were perfect. Everything was within range. So that's something I'm really proud of, because, you know, I did still get in shape. I won the Toronto Pro, and I came out of here with healthy blood work. And that's not something that we see very often. So I'm here to say that you can be healthy, you can be a bodybuilder. And you know, if there's anything that you take away from this, gut health is the most important, but also healing from your trauma, processing your emotions, and just being present.
All right, man. Again, I just want to say thank you so much, Tyler, for coming on, sharing a little bit of your life story, sharing your bodybuilding story up to this point. It's definitely to be continued. It was a lot of fun, man. All right.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Tyler. All of you who are tuning in to another episode of Behind the Muscle Podcast, I just want to say thank you so very much. If you guys have not done so already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube in regards to Behind the Muscle Podcast. And then also please take this episode with Tyler. Make sure you share it on his make sure you share it on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag Tyler, tag Behind the Muscle Podcast, so that we know that you specifically listened to this episode and found great value in it, in which I know you did. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.